Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Hey there, party people. This is Liz Matory filling in for Kevin Jackson on the Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter or Facebook. Please send me suggestions. I love to hear from listeners. I do the Friday show, so let me know throughout the week if there's something that you want me to cover. But for this, I really want to share with you what's going on here in my state of Maryland. Maryland is going by way of California, unfortunately. My county, Montgomery, is the hotbed of progressive, liberal, radical leftist Marxism. And so they, who happen to be the largest delegation in our state house from Montgomery, love to create legislation that will and does destroy any bit of awesomeness that our state once probably held. Whether it's hyper, partisan stuff or environmental restrictions. So there are a couple of other things that I want to warn you about just in case in your states you hear these things percolate. Again, let's talk about it. You as American citizens, you as, invested, important, you are the most important people in this government, in this country. As American citizens, as legal immigrants, as people who love and want to cherish and protect this country, you have to watch what your legislators are doing. If you can't do it, make sure that you have a friend or a group, Republican clubs, libertarian clubs, whatever you have, your church group, what have you. Identify a couple of people who will watch the legislators every session. Ours happens to be like January, February, March, a little bit of April. But they introduce some of the most amazing, sometimes good, many times bad, laws. And if they don't hear from their constituents, that stuff will just go without a blink of an eye. And even when they do speak highly, and talk about, these people don't want this case, and so therefore you rally the troops and get people to call your senators or delegates or whatever you have in your state, and I'm against this, I'm against this. I've testified against the SAFE Act, which is a sanctuary bill to create our state into a sanctuary. But this week, our wonderful legislators passed, I wish I had a drum roll, same-day voting. Let it sink in. Same-day voting without the use of an ID. Who does that benefit? Who do you think? Sure doesn't benefit the Republicans in this state. It only benefits, and it's only there under the guise of, we want to make sure that people of color have access to, voting. All right. And they always say, people of color, black people can't afford, licenses and identifications. We all have IDs. And to think that we can't have IDs and don't have IDs, again, it goes back to liberal paternalism, progressive paternalism. This is another case. They're like, we want people to have access to registering to vote so they can register to vote on the day of election. So you're telling me that these people, any of them who aren't registered, just feel like it. They walk into the polls and they're like, I feel like being civically active right now. No. It's because the Democrat Party and all of the unions have picked all these people up. Hopefully they live in Maryland. Hopefully they live in the region. How do you know that person even lives in your district? But for them not being a part of the voter roster in the first place. That's flag number one. They could come from anywhere and just totally change the makeup and the trajectory of an election. That last day on election day. We have early voting here too, don't forget. The other thing that we have to be watchful of is, yes, people really can't stand me saying this, but it's the truth. Because they moved from motor voter, meaning you can register to vote during the time you get your driver's license, they're actually telling and encouraging illegals and people who are not citizens to sign up to vote at the same time as getting their license. Oh, by the way, that they were allowed to apply for, because of course this is progressive Maryland. And you look at the numbers that have new registrants immediately in the last year only come from one source, They only come from DMV. And again, I'm only telling you this because we're already done for in Maryland. The only benefit, the only, last resort we have is for people like me to run for Congress. So, because this state is just, because we have such a strong, one-party rule here, and that's the other thing, that's the other reason why we need to elect more Republicans, is because we have to have a counterweight. No party, even the Republican Party, should not dominate the entire conversation. There's no way we're going to get to effective solutions if we don't. Yes, we have to stick to our principles. We also need to know what the view is. What are the best practices? What should we do that will serve that purpose in the community? And yeah, at a cost-effective way and the most limited government way. And so, sorry, I digress. But, I know for a fact that because I was one of those people, they have been moving for these sort of like voting stuff for decades. Decades. For at least 30 to 40 years, they have been pushing for more access to voting under the guise, again, of civil rights. But why all of a sudden did they pass, like with a blink of an eye? They were able to pass it so quickly. They didn't pass it for black people, folks. They only passed it so that they can change the course of elections. They want to steal elections. And when you ever say, what is a close election? One you can steal. All these ones that they claim victory, all these special elections, they are very close elections. And if you think about it, the Republicans are the ones that are voting for the people who they want to vote for. Because, let's be honest, especially in my state, we don't have all the bells and whistles that the dominant party has. We don't have all the boatloads of labor union workers, and all they do is canvass and be activists for the Democrat Party, even though some of the members are actually conservatives, but they don't get a voice, of course. So same-day voting only serves one purpose. Literally, get more Democrats to vote. Oh, I forgot, and they're, of course, registering people by default as Democrat. They don't even say there are two options. And that's why they always use that term, we're a democracy, because people think that, and they're like, oh, well, if we're a democracy, then I must need to be a Democrat. But no, we're a republic. We should be Republicans.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful four-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.